Well, latest addition to the Turntable Boomboxes is an SG J500L Panasonic. Nice little unit, all the usuals. Cassette, turntable, which comes out quite nicely. Selector for 45 and 33 over here. Select phono, FM mode, BP, medium wave and long wave. Tools you're going to need. You're going to need some really long reach Phillips head type screwdrivers. This one is probably a little bit too big. That's about the size you need. A marker pen just to mark some wires, a pair of cutters. Right, let's get this SG J500L assembled, but I think a cup of tea to start. Right, first thing we need to do is unplug the mains lead, and under it here, need to remove this plate. And one plate removed. Okay, let's flip it once it's back. Next thing to do is remove the battery cover. I thought that was rust, but it's actually foam inside the springs. Might as well remove this one as well. I just need to remove the case screws. You're going to need something thin, small, Phillips head. Alright, they're quite small screws. Not the easiest things to get out. Time for a different approach. Let's try something different. Yeah, it's nice. And the final one is down there. There. Very long way down these are. Oh, that one's come out nice and easy. I've got all the screws out, so hopefully should now just pull apart. So the front is just coming off now. We've detached the turntable. Open that, you don't need to open the cassette. Well, just got a few connections and we should be able to dismantle it. Yeah. Oh god, I'm going to vacuum it out first though. Yeah. It is not nice. Right, let's get that done. Well, hopefully that's looking a little bit better. Next thing to do is detach these. I'll put a little pencil mark on them just so I know which is which. They should just simply pull off. Okay, they're just like pushing connections for these wires, but they're not easy to pull out, they're quite stiff. Just to cover these connections before you end up breaking them. This one you just simply flip from the one side and it lifts, and you can then lift out the wires. This type of connection, which is very unusual, I was yanking and pulling on the wire, but what you do is you pull on it. As you can see, it moves backwards and forwards. Just give it a gentle pull, it releases the tension, and you can just pull the wire out, and then obviously push the wire back in and push back down to put the clamp back on. Yeah, so don't make the mistake I did and just start giving them a good yanking. There is a way to get them off. Two more disconnects. This ribbon cable, just pull on the one side and it should lift the tab, which will release the pressure on it. You should then pull out. And again, this thing is, oh, you just lift it. I've got it now. You just lift it slightly, it takes the pressure off. Hopefully now we should be able to just lift this off. It doesn't seem to be happening. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it's just lift on the deck slightly, and it should lift away. Okay, so we've got separation, as you can see. There's a lot of dust and stuff in there. That gives us access to the belts. You know what I can't see on here? Oh, there it is in there. Is the power supply. So you want to trace that back down and check the main input caps for any swelling. Then I'll remove the speakers. So to remove the cassette unit, there's a red screw there. This spring's got to be detached. This is the other screw to remove, another red screw, and I'll obviously remove that speaker. I'm going to have a look at the main board here. I don't want to disturb this wiring, so hopefully I can lift it all out as a single unit. But I think I'll start with the speakers. The grills look like they're just bent over tabs. The grills can be removed just by folding these tabs back straight. Hopefully I'll just fold all those straight. There's only 4 I think, and we should be able to pop the grill out then. But the main job really is I just want to get this totally dismantled. I also want to get down to the switches down there. This is why I'm thinking of lifting this main board out. Hopefully it all comes out as a single unit and I don't have to disturb any of this loom for the tuning. Then we'll start with the cassette removal. Got a couple of connections to remove off the main board, which are these M connections, 1, 2 and 3. So we're totally disconnected from the main board now. We need to press the eject button for the cassette player. I think that loosens the tension off on this spring, and we should then be able to lift this spring off. So the spring's off. So we've taken the spring off that point. Press the eject button. Just drop some under there to keep it up. Let's take this screw off. Well, hopefully this should just lift straight out, which it does. So that now gives us access to working on this piece, cleaning the heads, pinch roller, and changing the belts, and that'll be a job. So I'll put that to one side, and that was the spring that we disconnected just there. Then the next job now is to get the speakers off. Now the speakers are connected by a single connection there, which we can pull that off. Sorry, I'll show it again. This is just a single connection, just on the board there for the speakers. Pull that off, which will give us access now to lift the speakers away. And yes, they're looking a little bit dusty. And the same with that one. Yes, that's not looking too nice, and it's looking a little bit. It's looking a little bit furry. And the same with this speaker cavity. So I'll give those a clean, and then we'll get to the main board and see if we can get that lifted off. I want to get this main board off now. I think there's 1, 2, 3, and just one down there, 4 screws to take off. And I can see some screws down here, but that's a bit. So we'll have a look at that, and hopefully we can just then lift it up and lift it out. So we'll have a look at that. and then we can clean up the switches and the switch contacts. Okay, I think this backing board's got to come off. That's got it. That should hopefully now just lift out. And I think there's a couple of screws here that we need to remove. And there's a screw there underneath this. A little small tab. And there we go. So we don't need to set those two screws out. It's just this end one here. It's just a tab holding it on in the centre. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to desolder the speakers so I can work on the unit. I don't want to disturb this loom. It's all glued in. It's the original glue. So I'm just going to leave that as is. Front's completely stripped. I've decided not to take the grills off. These are actually glued, and I don't really want to disturb the glue. The speaker wires I've just cut, they're folded over, so I'm going to have to re-strip those, re-tin them. Okay, let's have a look at getting the power supply out. I believe we have some down here as well. Okay, that can lift out, so I should now just pull both of those off. I will mark one, so get it back on right, and should be able to lift them out. Thank God for that. And there's the board. Not a lot on it, but be worth just resoldering some of these larger connections. Just have a quick overview of the components on this board. The sliders, the switches, there's quite a few little caps that we can need changing on here. We'll get round to it. The power supply board, there's nothing really on it. And that's the back of the board, if anybody needs an image of it. The speakers, we've tested those, they're 6 ohms, and they read as 6 ohms. To gain access to the belts, we'll try removing this plate that's on the top. I believe that should now just lift off. Do this. Let's get those off there. And we can now get access to the belts. Okay, so we remove that screw. And there are some flathead screws, which seem to be here, here and here, which will give us access to the motor. So I'm going to release those. We should be able to lift the belt off now, and then we can clean everything up. And hopefully it should now just be the reverse to reassemble. Okay, well that's how you get the belt off. I'm not going to show you putting it back on. It's obviously just the reverse of what we've just done. I'll give you the dimensions of the belt, as I can't seem to find one online. Next job is to change the belt on the turntable, and I think we need to take this board off, because these wires, when we pull this forward, it's sort of trapped are these wires just there. Didn't really want to have to dismantle all this to do that. I can't see a connection underneath that is unpluggable. Just looks like a whole mass of wires. I'll do a little bit more investigation, but it looks like basically take this board off and we should be able to slide all this out then. Okay, we didn't need to take those wires off. Basically I pulled this forward and I've just flipped it onto its back basically, so now I can get access. I think I'm presumably going to take this plate off and this off, maybe the actual ejection knob, so I can get access to the belt. It might just slip underneath there, but somewhere or other I've got to get this plate off. So to get access to the belt, anyway I can see doing is really removing these screws. Take this centre screw out. Hopefully this should just lift off. Oh, okay, so yeah, don't need to set that centre screw off. So you put that one back on. It's a learning curve for me. So we'll put that back. And there's our belt. Well, it's quite a big belt. But we'll get that measured up and see if we can get a replacement. We'll just drop that back in there. Ready for reassembly. So yeah, it's just removed the 4 screws and the whole lot lifts out. And it looks like we've got some speed control here for the deck. Just thought I'd show you the turntable eject mechanism. It's spring loaded. There's 2 springs. There's one just there, a small one, which is part of the wiring, and there's a larger spring here, and some kind of gearing mechanism here, which may be for speed control, I'm not sure. But if yours is broke, that's what it should look like. The dismantle's now complete. I've just got to re-solder some of the pads on the main power supply board, check some capacitors on the motherboard, if you like, the main amplifier board, check that for dry joints, clean up the speakers, put the belts on the cassette and put the belt back on the turntable. I'm not going to show you doing all that. It's only the reverse of the dismantle. Hopefully it should all work when I put it back together. Well, I seem to have a lot of screws and I can't remember where I got it from, but hopefully it'll all go back together. Well, I hope that helped if you're going to dismantle one of these. It's quite simple to dismantle once you get into it. There's nothing really that's caused me any issues at the moment. My only issue is just getting belts for it. I've approached the company on eBay and hopefully they can sort me something out.